Hello, Dr. Ralph Haj has a PhD in semiology from the University of Quebec in Montreal. He is currently assistant professor at the Lebanese University in Beirut. In this video, he is going to discuss his project, Nature is a Forest of Symbols. Hello, Ralph.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Before we get into your project, would you like to describe your approach to your work in general, specifically your practice and your work in digital art?
Well, I've been a digital artist since 2002, since the beginning of the movement, and I have accompanied it for these 18 years. Digital art is fundamentally well, the digital allowed me transition from painting to artwork that gave me enormous possibilities, including the possibility, for instance, of questioning things and expressing these questions through my artwork. This has been implied in the possibilities that the digital itself allows, which also include the possibility of expressing ideas relating to scientific concepts. For instance, the way that science informs our view of the universe. So the numeric has been a central part of my practice, the central part of my practice, and has allowed me explorations and ability to express things that I did not have before I went into the numeric in 2002.
Great. Would you like to summarize the concept of the project Nature is a Forest of Symbols?
Yes. It's inspired by a poem by Charles Baudelaire, La nature est une forêt de symboles. I translated it from French. Nature is a forest of symbols. And the basic premise of Nature is a forest of symbols, Baudelaire's Nature is a forest of symbols, is something called correspondences. In modern terms, we call it synesthesia. The fact that some people associate certain forms or perceive certain forms of perception in two or several different ways. So that, for instance, when they hear music, they can listen to, they actually see colors. It's a condition that about 2% of the population has, and it's almost certain that Baudelaire himself and other people such as Liszt and probably some other people such as Bach also had it. And what it tells us is about the interconnected nature of reality, that our perceptions of reality is always fragmentary, and that in effect, words, images, sounds, all are profoundly connected. They have this profound unity. And this is the unity I was trying to express. And in order to do that, I went to something that absolutely fascinates me, which is a form of what we might describe as autoreferential geometry. Geometry that neither contains a within nor a without. Geometrical forms that do not have an inside, nor do they have an outside. In my previous project, I used something called the Mobius strip in order to express this. The previous project was called An Autobiography as the Universe. In my current project, I don't know if I invented it, but I'm sure I just discovered a form, a geometric form that contains itself. and in effect, in the very act of self-containment, it escapes towards infinity. It's very hard to explain it. I've written it down somewhere. But basically, the shape as itself, as a totality, what it represents is a negation of time. And the viewer inside, within the shape, when he is seeing the shape, is the one who is creating the time. In that sense, time within that shape is a partial phenomenon. And the reason I did this was first to integrate the viewer into the painting. He is the one who is producing the time through his very act of perception. And third, to express the very nature of time, which I have always viewed as being a local phenomenon, whereas totality is something that's more fundamental than time. Totality, which in this case, the totality of these autoreferential geometry, is something that's beyond time. In that way, what I was trying to express is the unity of reality through references to, of course, Baudelaire, and to the fundamental nature of totality as something more, lower than time, more fundamental than time. It's something that produces time. And within this artwork, I have also integrated texts, my aphorisms, which are in fact messages I have been sending to myself for, I don't know, the last probably since 2009. A series of messages, and the combination between these messages and the geometry, the artworks themselves, is what will produce the forest. The forest of symbols, which is in effect nothing but a projection and externalization of my mind.
That's really great. Can you briefly describe the user experience of this project if it is successfully launched like you imagine it could be?
Yeah, the project as a whole, the project can only be online for a very simple reason, because the image, when the synthesis is produced, the image is simply too big in terms of physical size if it were to be printed. So in effect, it is locked into the numeric. So how will this viewer experience be? It will be gigapixel images that have been placed online. And let me show you an example of this, which the Rijksmuseum have done with the image, The Night Watch by Rembrandt van Rijn. And as you see, I hope the image has been shared.
Yes.
Okay, so as you see, this seems to be a regular image. But in fact, what you can do is that you can go to levels of details that you would never be able to do. And this is that you would never be able to do with the with an image in the museum. If you got close to this image in the museum, the security guards would stop you right away.
Yeah.
And wholly justifiably, because you would be hurting it even with your breath, with the carbon monoxide. So this would be the image as it will be projected. And why is this necessary? Well, let me share my image, reshare my image. And hopefully Yeah, here we go. Okay, so if you look at my image, if you look at it on the screen, the detail is, has it been shared?
Yes.
Okay, so the detail is in fact simply not there. The image would seem to be, would lose enormous amount of detail. And I have seen this with images in museums, images that I knew, for instance, paintings by Leonardo or paintings by Giotto, and once you see them in the museum, you know them from images, but once you see them in the museum, they are something else completely. Well, the same thing is with this image, because the level of detail is as you see it right here. The level of detail is, in fact, something that you would simply not be able to see in an ordinary image. Even the printing, if I should print it, would not allow the viewer such concentration. So what I'm gonna do is use the same technique as the Reich Museum used. Basically, upload this image, which in this case is something like 4 gigabytes or 5 gigabytes, upload it in its original resolution and allow the institution to show it with this level of details. So the viewer would be able to read the image up till these level, up to the pixel level, and he would also be traveling in the image, which is also a combination between these texts and these images. So that the viewer experience would be like a gate through a forest, would be like a walk through a forest. But of course, it's a mental forest, it's a numeric forest, it's the forest to which they are welcome, the forest of my mind.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.